Steve Teel, Very Bold Radio and Podcast, here with Texas high school football legend, Jim Streety. How are you doing, Coach Streety?
Great.
Man.
A lot better now that I'm around you.
I love it, man. I appreciate you so much. I tell you what, it's a little bit funny, and I want to talk about numbers because I'm a people person, but I also love some numbers. So I want to throw some numbers out real quick. I've got them memorized, but I've also got them down just so I don't get it wrong. 343. 343. I know you know what that means, but maybe not everybody who's watching or listening knows. 343, that's career victories in Texas high school football. Those are all in the largest classification, right?
No,
they're
for
4A,
a
5A?
while, when we were first in New Braunfels, we were in the second classification. Yeah.
Okay, all
So
right.
all of the, the last, 25 years or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, in 6A, 5A and 6A.
Right, which is, 6A. So, all right, 39 straight years without a losing season. Incredible. 27 playoff teams during that time, a whole list of honors and more. But I want to just get one thing straight. I mean, I believe that when you retired, you were the fourth winningest coach in the history of Texas high school football.
That is.
That's amazing.
I don't know how that happened, but it did. You just got to outlast them, You
just
you got to keep coming to work every morning.
Yeah, I love that. All right, so I want to check my fact on one thing. I do believe, though, that as far as the largest classifications, I mean, you're the winningest coach in Texas.
Yes, that's what they say.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
I mean, the winningest coach in the largest classifications. That's crazy. Yeah. Oh, my gosh, what an achievement.
Yeah, and again, I think a lot of it just has to do with longevity because there's a lot of great guys out there that didn't coach as long as I did. So we'll put it like that.
We'll put it like that, Well, anyway, we got a real living legend, and the thing is, when you retired from coaching football, you talked about longevity.
Yeah.
I mean, you became the athletic director at New Braunfels.
Yes, yeah.
And you've been doing that since 2014?
Right, 7 years now, yeah.
A lot of people, when they were done with coaching, might have
Yeah.
said, "Okay, I'm gonna hit the golf course or the lake or whatever."
Yeah, well, when I started this, the superintendent that hired me, I thought maybe I can do that. He said, well, how much juice you got left, Coach? And I said, well, I got some juice. I'm not sure how long I'm going to want to do this. I was thinking about 5 years. And then, lo and behold, we look up, and every year when I'd go in and see him, and he'd say, Coach, you doing okay? You going to be back? I said, yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. He said, you can't leave until I leave now. You can't leave till I get ready to leave. So we go on and on. Well, lo and behold, about 5 months ago, he retired.
Oh, no.
he gone, and I'm still there.
I kept telling you can't retire, you can't leave. Wow. Man, how long do you see?
I don't know.
Mean, you got juice for days. You got juice for years.
As long as I'm enjoying it, which I am, and as long as my health remains good, which it is. And the bottom line is, am I making any difference? And I want to be making a difference, and I'm not. Obviously not coaching kids, but I'm coaching coaches.
Exactly.
And they need some coaching every now and then as well. So and I'm enjoying that. So we'll see.
It does seem so different. I mean, coaching kids with coaching coaches.
Yeah.
What do you enjoy about coaching these coaches? What's that look like?
Well, I try to just make sure they know that I'm available.
Yeah.
When they have something that they want to talk about. I try to be visible. We've got I guess about 55, 56 staff members in our high school and ninth grade center and middle school.
Yeah.
And I look at it at a different perspective, obviously, because it's not all football, which I was about for a long time, and I give equal attention to all the sports, the girls' sports, and I see it from a little different perspective now.
Yeah.
But I'm so dang much older than all of them. They don't have any problem asking me what I think about something.
That's great. You've got another high school coming too, so you got
Yeah.
more coaches to hire. And
Yeah, we're in the very beginning stages of opening our second high school in our school district, and there's going to be a lot of hurdles there.
I can't imagine.
to overcome. Yes,
Yeah.
hiring staff, a lot more staff.
Okay.
Obviously, but we've got to get some facilities built before then. We've got to. I'm on our district bond committee, which we're in the planning stages for a huge bond right now.
Okay.
And which will give us those facilities for the new school, and we'll get that thing opened up and keep moving.
Yeah, well, you've been doing a great job. I mean, you've done so much. Even I've been out in New Braunfels for 3 years, and the first time I think I got to see you out in New Braunfels since I moved out there, we were standing on a middle school football field, which was field turf. And for me, I mean, that was the first middle school field turf I'd seen. I was like, okay, I see how Coach Streety's doing things.
Yeah, we got real lucky on that and was able to partner with the city of New Braunfels, who was in need of youth sports facilities.
Yeah.
And we had a field and we had bleachers and we had parking and we had a restroom, but we only used it basically during football season because the field would take the rest of the year to recover and get ready for the next year. And somebody made the mistake of saying, well, how can we partner with you guys and use these fields? And I said, put artificial turf and lights up, and lo and behold,
That's great.
we
man.
got it at both of our middle schools. And
That's
and
awesome.
it's a slam dunk. I mean, because as you probably know, property around New Braunfels is quite expensive these days.
It is, yeah.
And the city didn't have to go look for any property, and
Right.
and it's been great. It's been a great. They have those facilities when we're not using them, which is nights and weekends.
Right, right. Man, that just seems like a win-win.
Oh, yeah.
Seems like you're all about a win-win.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not just about you. It's about
Yeah.
how it's going to help
Yeah.
other people and everything.
And we were able to obviously renovate our stadium and renovate our baseball stadium, and
Both of them are looking great, too.
Do some other got our big video board jumbotron up there, which is now a money maker because
Really?
it's paid for with all the advertising that we've had. And
Oh, my
so
gosh.
it generates some money as
Man,
well. So,
that's great.
That's those things are they're a lot of fun to look back and see. Man, we got that done.
You've got a lot done, that natatorium, and we're going to talk about coaching and all that. That natatorium is beautiful. Man, that's another win-win.
Yeah, the district school district partnered with the city on that as well. And
Yeah.
another slam dunk. I mean,
Yeah. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Man, what's next?
What's next? We're actually moving into a brand new middle school this fall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that will transition what is now New Braunfels Middle School over on the east side of town. That will be transformed into the second high school.
Yeah, and it looks beautiful. Every
Yeah.
once in a while I drive by
Yeah.
it. It looks
Yeah.
incredible out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty neat.
All right, man. Is that going to be different? I mean, to have two New Braunfels
Yeah.
ISD, that's going to be a
Yeah,
challenge.
it is. It really is, and it changes the dynamics of a school district when
Yeah.
you get your second high school. But that's what our community wants, and we're going to be
Okay.
big enough as the way New Braunfels is growing.
Right.
It will be big enough to support two
Okay.
high schools.
How are we going to have a nickname as cool as the Unicorns?
I
That's
don't
going to be
know.
tough.
I don't know about all that. I was thinking, they've already named it. It's going to be Long Creek High School.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I was thinking maybe the Kayakers or the Tubers or something.
Oh, the Tubers.
Yeah.
Oh, my
Yeah,
gosh. I
and,
love that.
the logo on the side of the helmet being a pool with,
I love
so,
it. I
don't
love it, man.
Anyway.
It's going to be tough. I mean, but if you came up with that, man, I'll tell you what, we'd sell some merchandise. It'd be like those minor league baseball teams, how they come up with all those crazy cool things. The Tubers. I love it. I love it. All right. I do want to talk coaching because, man, you have had an incredible year, and you continue this incredible year as an athletic director, making a difference in people's lives. But again, 343 career victories. My goodness. This is Texas. Football matters in Texas. And winning matters. And making a difference in people's lives matters a lot. But, man, I'll tell you what, if you're not winning games, it's hard to make a difference in people's lives because they'll find somebody else.
Yeah, it's hard to keep a job.
It's hard to keep a job, right? So, man, I hate to sort of go way back, but I don't remember how you even decided that coaching was something that you wanted to do. Did you feel some sort of calling? Or?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You know, I grew up in a small town.
Smiley.
Yeah, in the small towns, you
Yeah.
know, everybody, if you play sports, you just play everything.
Yeah.
And but I grew up loving sports, and you know, I idolized my coaches, and I think it started way back then. And of course, I went off to school though, and to college, and was an accounting major.
You were an accounting major.
I was an accounting major because I was good in math.
Yeah.
And you know, back then, and you take these aptitude tests, you know, and whatever you score well on, well, that's your career. So I guess I did good on the math part of an aptitude test, and the counselor said, "Man, you'd be an accountant." And I said, "Heck yeah." And anyway,
wow.
So I'm an accounting major for three semesters, and did well. But my goodness, I looked up one day and I said, I can't do this. I don't. And I knew I wanted to be an education major. I knew I wanted to be a coach.
Wow.
So I flipped after 3 semesters to education, and
man. Praise God you figured it out then. I mean, you
Yeah.
could have got into accounting.
Yeah.
You could have been 8
Oh, yeah.
years
yeah.
making money, being successful, but
Yeah.
not having a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, and of course I got lucky and married Janie, and
All right.
she became a teacher, and you know, we got the jobs that we needed to get, and just were blessed.
Tell me a little bit of background. I want to talk about a lot of coaching, but about Janie and you. Because Janie, I haven't seen her in several years, but I remember at the Madison games, she's just great.
Yeah.
And just, talking to her up in the stands. And I'm laughing partially today because when I introduce you as Jim Streety, I've known you since 1994. I don't think I've ever used your first name in any context. If I'm talking about somebody, I saw Coach Streety or Streety. And even Janie, your wife, when I'm talking to her and she'll be like, oh, Streety, he's doing this or he's doing that. I've never actually heard anybody call you Jim. They probably do when they give you all these awards and Hall of Fames. They probably say your full name. But tell me a little bit about you and Janie, if you don't mind.
Well, actually, she grew up. She went to Nixon High School.
Okay.
We didn't know each other in high school because I'm a little bit more mature age-wise than Janie, and so I was already in college at Southwest Texas, and before we started hooking up, and then she ended up in college there, and I graduated about 3 years while she ahead of her, so she was still in college.
Okay.
And I was very fortunate to be a GA there at Southwest Texas for a year.
Okay.
And then I was lucky to get a junior high coaching job in San Marcos, Texas.
Really?
And she was able to finish school. And because we were very concerned about that. But she was able to finish and became a teacher, and the next thing we know, we end up in New Braunfels. I get me a JV coaching job in New Braunfels.
Oh my gosh!
And we get lucky there, and I get to be named the head coach in New Braunfels.
How does that happen? 1970 is when you go to New Braunfels High School. You're doing assistant in football, basketball, and track.
Right.
4 years later, that makes you a young coach.
Barely 30 years old.
Yeah.
I had just turned 30 years old when I became the head coach.
19. I mean, how do you get? I mean, really, I can't remember a head coach of a big school like that young. How did that happen? How did that fall right?
It happened very easily because that was a sorry job. we were not very good. They weren't beating the doors down to be the head coach at New Braunfels High School.
Yeah.
And but
I know there were some other people that applied for the job anyway.
Yeah.
I know it wasn't just one.
I think so. But anyway, they gave me the job, and lo and behold, I hired some young guys that were basically that I had mostly known from college that had gotten into coaching as well, and I'm not saying we had any idea of what we were doing, but we loved each other and we loved those kids, and the kids knew it, and as a result of that, they played hard, and we had a pretty good run of kids, and we started winning, and
Wow.
and then winning begets winning begets winning.
Yeah.
You know how
Yeah.
that works. And even if they're not very good, they think they're supposed to win, and
Right.
sometimes it works that way.
That's right.
But anyway, we kind of got things rolling there. And,
Man, that's pretty incredible at 30 years old. I mean, hiring these other young coaches,
Right.
it sounds like. And it's interesting to me. It's not surprising because I've watched you coach. I've seen you coach over many years, and it's always very obvious that you love your coaches and you love your kids.
Right.
And they feel loved. And I feel like that would be hard for some coaches to communicate. How did you guys do that? I mean, that's a unique gift,
yeah,
Coach.
I think that probably came from God.
Yeah.
That was me, and most of those guys that I hired, we're still very close. Our
Yeah.
families are very close.
Yeah.
And all of those guys that we were praying for early
Yes.
on there, our families grew up together,
Mm.
and this is us. That's just
Yeah.
that's the way we were, and that core of that coaching staff stayed together quite a while, and then most of them ended up going on and becoming head coaches and that sort of thing.
That's what I want to see. That's the third part of your bio I want to see. I want to see the Streety coaching tree
Yeah.
sometime. I want somebody to put together a graphic. I would really like to
Yeah.
see that. I don't know who we got to get on that. But
there is that
we have that.
somewhere.
Okay.
Because I have filled it out. It's online.
Okay.
Somewhere.
Okay.
And it's pretty neat. Not just mine, but other people
Yeah.
as well.
Okay.
Man, I can't recall exactly where it is right now.
Okay.
But there is a website online that has
I didn't
coaches
know
trees.
that.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh man, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I wanna stay there just for a minute. So, 1976. This is great. New Braunfels Unicorns. They made their first playoff appearance, not in 3 years. I mean, not in. You said it was a sorry job. Not in 8 years. That'd be a long playoff drought. 8 years. Not in the playoffs. How about 15 years? 15 years, you just stopped playing football, I think.
Yeah, that's about what they did too.
25 years.
Yeah.
25 years. I got to say that again. People aren't going to believe me. In 1976, New Braunfels made their first playoff appearance in 25 years and followed that with 10 playoff teams in 17 years. And that was I don't, no disrespect to today. I love how today is, but it was a lot harder to make the playoffs.
Oh yeah,
back then.
Yeah. It's either one or two teams.
Right.
I can't remember what year.
Yeah.
For a while, it was just one, and then I think in about '78 they started taking two.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
yeah. We had a couple of pretty good teams that didn't make it, but
Yeah.
anyway.
Wow. All right. So 25 years. So you were just I don't even know how to ask the question. I mean, you guys love those kids, and then you got eventually some kids that came
Yeah.
in, and you just started winning.
Yeah.
Man, the secret sauce is love. The secret sauce is love.
And guys that can run fast and jump high, it might be easier to love those guys, But
that's true.
yeah, but our staff, I used to tell our guys, and I still do, the best team on campus needs to be the coaching team, and kids feed off of that.
Yeah.
They can see that. They can, when they walk by that coach's office and they see guys in there respecting each other,
Yeah.
and having fun.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to go in that locker room and respect each other and have
That's
fun.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
How'd you find? Well, so those first crop of coaches were just guys you loved and knew.
Guys I knew from college because, I didn't know. I mean, what experienced coach was going to come work for me in New Braunfels when the job wasn't any good, and I was a first-time head coach, who had no idea what he was doing. I mean, who's going to come there except my buddies?
Yeah.
And so they did.
Were there any times early on that it was kind of discouraging? I mean, it only took you a couple years after 25 years of no playoffs for New Braunfels.
Yeah, we had that first year. I think we went 4-6, and then I think maybe the second year we were pretty good, but we went 5-5, and then the third year we were quarterfinalists and all
My gosh.
that. But then after that, I can't say we were ever discouraged. We weren't smart enough to get discouraged. We didn't.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, all right. I want to make sure. Can you stay a little bit longer than I told you before? Because I said we go 25 minutes. I'm already at 20. Can you hang around a little bit?
Yeah. Okay.
Can you hang around a little bit?
Maybe. Yeah.
You got a lunch appointment down here in San Antonio?
I do, but
okay.
I got time.
Okay. All right. So New Braunfels, in 1991, you go to Madison. Tell us a little bit about that. Had to be a hard decision. Your record here at New Braunfels, I've got is 149 wins, 45 losses, 2 ties. Mm-hmm. Now, 1991, what was it about Madison? Now, I was around in San Antonio until 94. That's when I came here, so I don't know what the landscape was like. Yeah. So what was it like for you making that move?
Well, I had been, obviously at that point, I had been in New Braunfels for 21 years, 17 years head coach, 4 years an assistant.
Yeah.
So I was in my late 40s, and, guys, when they get in their late 40s, they start thinking, maybe I need a change. Maybe I need to do something different.
Yeah.
Am I going to stay here and do this forever, which I didn't think I would.
Yeah.
So, and along about that time, the Madison job came open, and Jerry Kumalander and I had become friends through working with the Coach Association together. At that time, I was just finishing up being president of the Coaches Association. And anyway, Jerry and I, and lo and behold, I'm at an AD conference.
Yeah.
And Jerry's the AD here at Northeast. And the next thing I know, we're having a conversation about the Madison job. And I had not given that any thought. And Coach Kumalander, he says, Jim, let's step over here and talk a little bit. So we went in a little meeting room and sat down, and he said, you think you might be interested? And I said, well, maybe so. We'll see. So anyway, the next thing I didn't think I would ever. I mean, we were very happy there.
Right, sure.
Successful. My family was happy, and but the next thing I know, I'm going to Madison, and I'm really fired up. I'm excited. I'm bringing some guys with me.
You got to bring some guys.
Got to bring some guys with me, and Madison was a bigger school than New Braunfels. We were all 5A, but they were a bigger 5A than and Madison was relatively new then. Madison was on pretty much the outskirts of San Antonio at that time.
Right.
In fact, the very north part of our campus was open fields out there where all those subdivisions are now.
Right.
So to the north and to the west, it was bare land. So anyway, I brought some guys with me, and we just hit it off. The first year we were in the quarterfinals.
My gosh.
The next year we were in the quarterfinals, and
wow.
And a short 23 years later, I was still there. So,
that's great. 23 years, 17 more playoff teams, including 10 quarterfinalists, 3 semifinalists, and just incredible. All right, I know people, and it talks about in your bio, and I believe it. I know your greatest memories come from the lasting relationships established with players and fellow coaches.
Right.
Man, I'm just gonna ask you some sort of just what comes to the top of your head for some of those memories. I know some of them are heartbreaking, and I know that's a part of your story.
You can't not mention Jacob Gutierrez.
I was wondering. I was wondering.
So y'all got that OU connection, I know, but
Hey, we got that OU connection, but we got that Madison Maverick connection. I mean, all you say Jacob Gutierrez, and the highlight reel in my head does not start with OU. It starts with Jacob Gutierrez carrying some Rough Riders down the football field at Comalander Stadium. So it's the Madison highlights that come for me.
Yeah, and I'm just reluctant to mention names, but Jacob really established himself as not only a good player, he was such a tremendous leader, a tremendous young man, and such an influence on his teammates.
Yeah.
And you got to mention a guy like that. All of the Green boys that played for us. And just great athletes. And then the David Edwards story, which was just heartbreaking. But those are the overtime game against Smithson Valley in the Alamo.
Oh my gosh!
Games like that, the semifinal games, the huge playoff games in the Rio Grande Valley against the Westlacos, the Harlingens. Those great memories of those kind of things.
Yeah. Well, tell me, and I know, and I said off air, I wasn't going to ask you a favorite this or favorite that, because you're going to, if you talk about something in terms of favorite, you're leaving off 30 other favorites or 100 other favorites. So I was just curious what would pop in your mind, and those are really good. Talk to me about your faith. You mentioned just faith and how that has informed you as a coach and now athletic director. How's that work?
Well, again, it's the people that have come in your life, starting with my parents, and we grew up in a Christian home, going to church every time the doors open. So
the way you say that makes me think you didn't always enjoy that, Coach Streety.
Those revivals in the middle of July with no air conditioning, when we went every night, including Saturday, then people start influencing you. We had a great influence in college. Our Janie and I started going to church together when we were planning to get married. Reverend Paul Powell, who was a pastor of the First Baptist Church there in San Marcos, a great influence on us. And then we come to New Braunfels, and Bill Arnold. I'm there. The second day I'm there, he's knocking on my door, and he's the pastor of the First Baptist Church in New Braunfels. And he made it very clear that if I was he had 3 kids that played football, 3 boys, and if I was going to coach those boys, that I was going to be coming to his church. So we had a great experience there, and then later on at Oakwood with Ray Steele. And the people like that who've just been a great influence, as well as many others have just Fellowship of Christian Athletes, which Coach Fredenberg and I started in New Braunfels in the early 70s.
Oh my gosh! Okay.
And now the Coaches Outreach Bible study, which we started at Madison and are doing that at New Braunfels. Though, you get connected, and that's who you are.
Yeah. Well, Coaches Outreach. I mean, talk about your leadership. When Coaches Outreach, they started in Dallas, and when they were looking to start expanding, I mean, they called you in San Antonio, because I remember we had a conversation, and they came to the right place, and now there's Coaches Outreach. I mean, all over, San Antonio, New Braunfels, all over Texas, all over. But man, they knew the right place to start was with you, for sure. Let me ask you this: let's say there's a young coach now. What kind of advice as a Christian would you give that? Let's say they're a Christian and they want to continue to have their Christian values. What kind of advice would you give to that young coach today?
Be who you are. Don't try to fake anything. I'm actually mentoring a young coach in the Rio Grande Valley now. The Coaches Association has started this mentoring program called
cool.
Rock Mentoring Program.
Okay.
And we're just getting started, and I'm mentoring this young guy in the Rio Grande Valley, who, as it turns out, he's a Christian guy, young guy.
Yeah.
And we've talked about some of these very same things. I mean, and I have gotten him introduced to the FCA leader in the valley, as well as the coaches outreach contact down there, and he's trying to get all that going at his school.
Man, that is
so,
awesome.
You know, it's just be who you are, and you'll be blessed for that.
Yeah. All right. You've seen coaching change over the years a lot. You've probably seen parenting change a lot over the years. I'm going to say if somebody's listening today, maybe they're going off to college and they've had a coach almost, that they respected and appreciated, and they're thinking about, man, maybe I should become a coach. What would you tell them? What kind of advice, whether they're Christian or not, what kind of advice would you give them? I mean, it's a hard profession.
Yes, it is. And I had a guy in my office talking to me about that just the other day. I think the key is to learn how to balance your time.
Okay.
If that's what you're going to do, particularly when you decide to get married and have a family, that balancing the time between 85 hours a week coaching and what time you have for your family becomes huge, and it helps if you can find a young lady that will buy into that schedule.
That does. How did you convince JD?
She just let it go. She's fine with it. She supported me tremendously.
Clearly,
but she was a school teacher.
Yeah,
and she had her thing too. I mean, she had her job to do as well.
Right. Yeah.
And we'd meet in the middle, or maybe a little bit past the middle on my side. But.
How do you, seriously, with 85 hours, and I we talked about I'm in 3 coaches' Bible studies right now. These guys and women, they're working so hard.
Right.
They're working hours and hours to get the job done, to get it done right, and because they see it as a ministry, an investment in other coaches and in kids, and these coaches are tremendous. How did you find a little bit of that balance, especially during football season when you guys are? Yeah. I mean, it's 7 days a week, literally.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where the 85 hours is football coaches during season. That's 7 days a week. It's about 85, 90 hours generally. I just and I'm not saying that I don't think I did a very good job of that early on.
Okay.
Because I think I went a little bit overboard with the work part of it, and but as you grow and as you mature and all, you figure out that do your work when it's time to work, and when you're done, go home and enjoy your family and serve them. Yeah, and I think I did a little bit better job of that later on. I'm not so sure early, because
you learn though at some point. A lot of guys don't learn.
And that's honestly, that's where some of them have real problems, either at work or at home. You know? So, like they say, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. You know? And so it can cause problems. It really can.
Yeah. Well, obviously you did a whole bunch of things right, because off camera, when we were just praying before the show, we're talking about your kids and the wonderful influence and job that they've done. So, I mean, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. You must have been doing some things right. Well, they sure turned out great. It sounds like.
So far they have. Very proud of them.
Yeah. If you could take just, you mentioned the David Edwards story. I know that's impacted you pretty greatly. It's emotional, but for somebody who doesn't know some of the David Edwards story, is there anything you could share with us today?
Well, of course, he played for us at Madison, and he happened to be a guy that I had gotten really close to. And he had the tragic spinal cord injury in 2003 in a playoff game in Austin, and of course he became a quadriplegic immediately, and never recovered from that. And course, his story went for over 4 years, I guess, in and out of facilities, and it's just, I think the best thing that came out of that was me seeing the faith of his family.
Really?
Me saying, man, if they can handle this, I know I can, and I know I can be a better person because of this, and I was. That really, now what has that been? 18 years ago. That really changed my perspective of a lot of things, and it's a long story, but we built him a house.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah,
okay.
All the Madison community built him a handicap accessible house right out there in the same neighborhood where he was already living.
Yeah.
And we started doing all of those things and establishing that scholarship. We had those fundraisers for him, and lo and behold, the new athletic facility at Madison was named after him.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that day when we dedicated that place, and his family was there, and he had the neatest grandparents. They were, as I said, they were so strong in their faith. And as we were finishing up that day, I'll never forget his little grandmother coming up to me and giving me a hug and saying, "Coach Streety, I will never forget the love you showed my grandson."
Yeah. Man. Well, thank you.
Sorry.
No, man. Look, that's.
I can't tell that story. Without getting emotional.
Yeah, I know. Thanks for telling that story. That's a beautiful story, and it's beautiful how their faith inspired you.
And it did.
Yeah.
Tremendously.
You said it changed your perspective a little bit. What does that mean?
I think it made me, it made me so much more aware of it's not all about winning,
Yeah.
It's not all about winning. It's what you are to others, and how you can help others get through bad times, good times, whatever the times are.
Yeah.
And that was a bad time. That was a hard time.
Right.
But it really it changed my outlook.
Man.
And it made me a better coach too.
Yeah, made you a better coach.
And it made coaching more fun for me, because I went through that period there for a few months. I said, I'm not sure I can do this anymore. I was devastated.
Right.
And I got over that, and shoot, man, the last 18 years of my coaching were the best.
Yeah.
The best.
And part of that was this new perspective and just realizing you're loving these kids. Like those are really the big wins. Those are the wins we don't have numbers for.
Right.
We got 343 wins on the field. What we don't have is what I picture, those lives that you've impacted because of your love and because of your example and because of the coaches that you hired, the coaches that you worked with, the influence on these kids. And they become dads, and they become husbands, and they become coaches, and they become church people and church pastors and all those things.
And it wasn't just me either. Right?
No.
That coaching staff, you knew those guys I had out there with me, and we went through that together.
Yeah, you sure did. Well, I also think it's really beautiful how that family was an inspiration to you, that you could see that they were going through that and had that faith.
Yeah.
And I also feel like, I want to thank you also because people look to you and what you model and what your example of life as a coach and as a person who cares. Nobody can, nobody can say Coach Streety doesn't care about his kids, his players. And that is just something for other coaches to emulate. And I just want to encourage somebody who's listening and thinking about coaching. I love young people, and I'm blessed to be around young people right now as a youth pastor, and that's a huge blessing. But also, man, to be a coach, you're around them, every day. The influence and opportunity to be in their lives and make a difference is just huge. And so if you're a coach that's listening, I want to just say thank you, and thank you for the lives that you're changing. It really is a ministry, especially when you understand that it's a ministry and it's life and love impact. So I just want to ask God's blessing on them, those coaches, and somebody that's considering coaching. So, and a blessing on you. And all those kids that you've impacted over the years, and your staff, and I get all that, and your support staff, and all that. But just thank you for being faithful to God's call and making such a difference, Coach Streety. Really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything you want to add? I know you got. What time's your lunch at noon? We got to get you out of here.
Oh, yeah.
Anything you want to add?
No, it's been great. I appreciate you having me
I
on.
appreciate you coming and just making such a difference. Thanks a lot. All right. I'm going to sign off by just reminding our people what Coach Streety's talking about is understanding that hope that you have, the hope that the Edwards family had. Praise God. Because we do go through garbage. We go through hard times, and when we go through hard times, there's different ways to respond, and one is just to run from God. One is to be angry at God. You can be angry at God, but, man, talk it out with God. Yell it out with God if you have to, but God's not going to give up on you. He's so patient. Even if you're listening and have run away from God because you're upset about something that went just terribly wrong, I want you to know that when you went through something terribly wrong, Jesus was weeping. He was crying with you. Right before he called Lazarus back to life, after 4 days in the tomb, Lazarus was in the tomb. Jesus still wept right before he turned that into the biggest miracle besides his own resurrection. So if he can do that, if he can weep, if you're going through a hard time right now, he can weep with you right now, even though he knows the glory is coming, even though he knows the victory is coming, even though he knows the good thing is coming that you can't see right now. He sees it, and yet he's such a compassionate God that he can weep with you during this. So he's with you. I want you to feel his presence. And I want you to know that. So I want to remind you that that's a great hope that we have. It's a hope that we're going to see David Edwards again in the presence of God. And we're going to play. I'm not going to play football with him. He's too good. But, some of y'all are going to play football with him. We're going to have a grand old party, a grand old time. I don't want you to miss it. So we're talking about faith in Jesus. Don't miss it. Don't miss it. It's a great hope we have, and that's what Coach Streety has, and that's why he makes a difference in people's lives and coaches' lives today that are making a difference in kids' lives today, because we have such a hope. This is why we're called, where's my thing, Very Bold. We're Very Bold Ministries, Very Bold Radio and Podcast. The Apostle Paul wrote this. This is what we've alluded to all day, is that great hope that we have. Paul said this in 2 Corinthians 3:12, therefore, since we have such a hope, we are very bold.